Okay, so let's dive into something that, well, on the surface, it sounds really admirable. Perfectionism.
Mhm.
We often picture someone always striving for excellence, setting these incredibly high bars, giving 110%.
But it looks like ambition's best friend, doesn't it? On paper, at least.
Exactly, on paper. But, let's be real. If you've ever found yourself, like, obsessing over one email,
Oh, yeah.
or maybe rewriting a text message for half an hour, you know the truth.
Mhm.
Perfectionism often isn't inspiring at all. It's absolutely exhausting.
Totally. It's that nagging inner voice, isn't it? The one whispering, don't even bother unless it's going to be flawless.
Yes. And then, frustratingly, it almost seems to, like, applaud when you feel you haven't done enough anyway.
It's a cycle, a relentless one. You feel constantly behind.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating, looking at the source material we explored, is this critical insight. It's maybe a bit counterintuitive.
Okay.
Chasing perfection doesn't actually lead you to confidence. It actively crushes it.
Wow, crushes it.
Yeah, our research points towards the brain pathways involved.
Huh?
They often mimic anxiety pathways.
Uh,
So it creates this kind of biological feedback loop that actually diminishes confidence. It doesn't build it.
so you keep trying to do everything right, hoping, this will finally make you feel good enough.
Exactly. But the finish line just keeps moving further away.
Right, you never get there.
Never.
So I guess the big question is, what if we just stopped playing that game, like, entirely?
Well, that's the core idea here.
Yeah, this deep dive is really all about exploring that powerful idea that real confidence doesn't come from being flawless.
Mhm.
It comes from wholeheartedly embracing the glorious, messy human imperfection of it all.
I love that framing. Glorious mess.
Right. So we're breaking down 7 transformative mindset makeovers. These are drawn directly from our sources.
And they're designed to help you ditch that pressure, that crushing feeling,
Yeah.
and genuinely build confidence that actually sticks.
So this is really for you if you've ever felt stuck, maybe overwhelmed by just too much information, or if you find yourself constantly judging your own efforts against some impossible standard.
Yeah, get ready for hopefully some serious aha
Yeah.
moments.
Okay, let's jump right into the first big mindset shift from the sources. It's all about moving from all or nothing,
Oh, the classic.
messy progress counts. And honestly, I think this one probably hits home for so many of us. That feeling of, well, if I can't do it perfectly, why bother at all?
Absolutely. The sources really hammer this home. All or nothing thinking is like a core driver of perfectionism.
Right.
They even have a term for it, something like perfectionist brain trash talk.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it basically just silences any effort that isn't seen as flawless.
So it stops you before you even start sometimes.
Exactly. And the real game changer here, as the research suggests, is internalizing that done is better than perfect.
Done is better than perfect. Okay.
It's about fundamentally valuing any forward movement, no matter how small or, frankly, imperfect it feels.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so if someone listening is feeling stuck in that perfect or pointless cycle,
Mm-hmm.
what's a small, like, actionable step the sources recommend to start embracing that messy progress? Give us something concrete.
Okay, yeah. The material suggests picking just one area this week, just one, where you usually go all or nothing.
Like what?
Well, maybe it's exercise, right? Or
Right.
tidying up, or even just replying to emails.
Okay.
Instead of feeling like you need a full hour for the gym, commit to just 10 minutes.
10 minutes, that's doable.
Right. Or you feel you can't write the whole report, just scribble down one messy
With
paragraph.
paragraph. Okay.
And here's the crucial part. Once you do that, something,
Yeah.
even if it feels tiny, insignificant, you have to celebrate it.
Celebrate the 10 minutes.
Yes. The sources really emphasize that celebration reinforces the positive behavior. It wires it in, no matter how small the win feels.
Okay, I like that. Celebrating messy progress. So, building on that then, what about when that progress hits a snag? When we inevitably make a mistake.
Yes. The mistake.
How do our sources suggest we approach that? Because let's face it, for so many people, a mistake feels like immediate, total failure.
And that leads directly into our second shift. It's moving from seeing mistakes are failures
Right.
to understanding mistakes are data.
Mistakes are data. Interesting.
Yeah, perfectionists often treat mistakes like these personal attacks, right? Like proof they're not good enough.
Mm-hmm. Totally feel that.
But the really profound insight from our sources is that they're not red flags signaling disaster. They are incredibly valuable roadmaps.
Roadmaps. How so?
Well, every stumble, every mess up, it has something to teach you.
Right.
But you can't learn that lesson if you're too busy spiraling in shame or just giving up entirely.
Oh, the shame spiral. We've all been there, haven't we?
Absolutely.
So the shift is to become more like a mistake detective, maybe, not a self-critic.
Exactly. A mistake detective. I like that.
So next time you mess up, the material suggests you just pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, okay, what did this teach me?
Mhm.
What can I maybe tweak next time? Is this actually a failure or is it just feedback?
And a really powerful suggestion from the sources to help with this is to start a mess-up journal.
A mess-up journal.
Yeah. When something goes wrong, you actually write down what you learned from it.
Uh-huh.
Treat it like a science experiment,
Oh, yeah.
not like a
Oh,
catastrophe.
pity debt collection, not self-flagellation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
That reframing is so crucial for growth. It turns what feels like a setback into genuinely valuable insight.
Okay, that makes sense. So moving beyond how we see our efforts and mistakes, the next insight from our deep dive tackles where we look for validation, where we get our sense of worth.
Ah, this is a big one.
Yeah, our third makeover, transitioning from I need approval to I approve of me.
Oof.
Because if your confidence depends entirely on likes or praise or someone else clapping for you, you're basically stuck on this roller coaster you can't control, right? One compliment, you're flying high. One bit of criticism, or even just silence, and you instantly crash.
It's exhausting. And this point really profoundly underscores the importance of building your self-worth in-house, not outsourcing it.
Building it in-house, I like that.
The insights are clear.
Yeah.
You are valuable not because of your grades or your job title or how many people heart react your stories online.
Right.
You are valuable simply because you exist. Full stop. And this, the research argues, is like the foundational truth for any kind of lasting confidence.
Okay, but how do we do that? How do we internalize that approval when we're so used to looking outside?
Well, the practice here, according to the material, is to actually write your own hype mantra.
Right, mantra.
Yeah. Something simple like, I am enough exactly as I am, or maybe my value is not up for debate.
Okay.
And then you put it somewhere visible. On your mirror, make it your phone background.
Do you see it all the time?
Exactly. And you repeat it. Repeat it until it starts to feel less like you're lying to yourself and more like your new default truth, that internal validation. That's your superpower.
Internal validation is your superpower. Okay, moving on. Our fourth shift challenges that idea of a fixed mindset, which often fuels perfectionism.
Right.
It's about moving from, I suck at this,
We've all said that.
to, I am learning this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about seeing every challenge as like training, not a final test.
And just quickly, for anyone unfamiliar, a fixed mindset is that belief that your abilities are just set in stone. You're either good at something or you're not. End of story.
Yeah, which makes any perceived failure feel like definitive proof of inadequacy. It's devastating.
Totally. Whereas a growth mindset, which is what we're aiming for here, understands that skills aren't fixed. They can be developed, they can be improved through effort and practice.
So failures become learning opportunities, not verdicts.
Exactly. And that's where the real magic happens, as you said. That's where growth lives. So how can we actively cultivate that growth mindset, especially when things feel really difficult or we feel like we do just suck at it?
Yeah, it's tough. The key is remembering. Nobody is born a pro at anything. They put in the reps, they practiced, they learned.
Right.
And so can you. The sources suggest picking one thing you've been actively avoiding because you think you're bad at it. Maybe it's public speaking or budgeting, something like that.
Okay.
And then consciously reframe it. Tell yourself out loud if you need to, okay, this feels hard right now, but I am learning this.
I am learning this.
And then you practice just a little bit on purpose, even 5 minutes. It's about building that muscle, getting those reps in, not expecting instant mastery overnight.
Right. It's the process, not perfection. Okay. That takes us nicely to our fifth mindset makeover. And I think this one is maybe more relevant than ever in our, hyper-connected world.
Oh, definitely.
Shifting from why can't I be like them, that constant comparison.
Comparison traps.
Yeah, eyes on my own lane.
So important.
Social media especially has us all thinking everyone else has it completely figured out, doesn't it? Perfect skin, perfect relationship, perfect career, perfect life.
Perfect everything. It looks that way.
Yeah. But the truth, as the sources point out, is you're comparing your unedited, messy, behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's carefully curated highlight reel. And that is just a recipe for feeling inadequate. A powerful trap.
It truly is.
Yeah.
And the shift here is actually quite simple conceptually, but profoundly powerful in practice. Stop scrolling so much. Start living your own life more.
Easier said than done sometimes, but
I know, I
yeah.
know. But your timeline is yours. Your goals are yours. Your mess is valid, and your wins, however small, are yours to define and celebrate.
Okay, so what's a practical tip here?
What the research recommends is trying maybe a 24-hour social media detox. Just one day.
Okay.
And use that reclaimed brain space, that time, to do something that brings you genuine joy. Doesn't matter what it is, read a book, draw, take a nap, sing off key, whatever. And then really notice how you feel afterwards. It can be incredibly freeing. It helps you refocus that energy back onto your own actual journey.
Eyes on your own lane. Got it. Okay, number 6. Our 6th transformation is all about flexibility. A concept that, let's be honest, perfectionists often really struggle with.
Oh, yeah. Flexibility is not usually our strong suit.
Right. So it's moving from the plan must be perfect and followed exactly
Rather-
to let's pivot and roll. You know, perfectionists often worship their plans, spreadsheets, checklists, timelines.
Guilty.
And when life inevitably throws a curveball and doesn't follow the script, it can trigger a complete meltdown.
Because it feels like the whole thing is ruined.
Exactly. But life isn't a spreadsheet, is it? It's more like, I don't know, music, maybe jazz.
Uh-huh. Yeah, maybe. You've got to kind of vibe with the changes, improvise a bit.
Right. Not throw the whole song out just because one note was slightly off.
That's a great analogy. And the material really encourages us to treat plans like maps, not like rigid laws carved in stone.
Maps, not laws. Okay.
The destination, the goal, that stays the same. But how you get there, that can absolutely flex and change based on the terrain.
So how do we practice that flexibility?
Well, one key takeaway from the sources is to take a goal you're currently working on and actively brainstorm 3 different ways you could potentially get there.
3 different routes on the map.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're not stuck if road A hits a roadblock. You've got B and C ready to explore. It empowers you to navigate obstacles rather than just being paralyzed by them.
Okay. Being prepared to pivot. Love it. And that brings us to the 7th, and maybe the most crucial mindset makeover, the one that really it brought me up short when I was reading the material.
Which one's that?
Moving from being your own harsh critic
Ah, yes, the inner critic.
to becoming your own ride or die coach.
Ride or die coach. Okay.
That voice in your head, right. The one that's constantly saying you're not enough, you totally blew it, look, everyone else is better than you.
We know that voice well.
The sources basically say, fire that voice today. Like, give it a pink slip.
Uh-huh. Okay.
You don't need a critic constantly tearing you down. You need a coach. You need someone in your corner who has your back, who reminds you what you're capable of, especially when you fall down.
That sounds amazing, but how do we actually do that? How do we make that shift from critic to coach?
Yeah, it's maybe the hardest one, but this one hits home for so many people. The core shift is to start talking to yourself like you would talk to someone you deeply love and respect.
Okay, with kindness.
Yeah, with kindness, with encouragement. So when you mess up, instead of, you idiot, your inner coach says something like, okay, that didn't go quite as planned. What can we learn? What can we do next?
Right. Or maybe, hey, you've handled worse than this before. You've got this.
Exactly. Or even just, okay, deep breath. Let's just take a moment and try again when you're ready.
That feels so much more supportive.
Doesn't it? And the material suggests a really practical exercise for this. For one full day, try to catch and write down every mean thing your inner critic says.
Ooh, that might be a long list for some of us.
Could be. But then right underneath each critical thought, you consciously rewrite it. Exactly how a supportive, encouraging coach would phrase it.
Flipping the script.
Flipping the script. And maybe, for a bit of fun, give your inner critic a really ridiculous name like Bartholomew or something.
Yeah.
And then you can literally tell Bartholomew to take a seat because your coach is stepping in now.
I love it. Tell Bartholomew to pipe down.
Exactly. So, okay, let's bring this all together. Let's bring it back to what the source material calls the real glow up.
The real glow up, yes.
This is a whole deep dive. It really isn't about lowering your standards or just settling for less than you're capable of.
No, absolutely not.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fundamentally about smashing that invisible, impossibly high bar that perfectionism sets up, the one that's been keeping you stuck and holding you back.
Yeah.
It's this really profound insight, isn't it? You weren't born to be flawless. You were born to be human,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to live, to try things, to mess up spectacularly sometimes, to laugh, to cry, to grow, to fall down, get back up, and repeat the whole cycle.
Right. And confidence isn't found at that elusive finish line of perfection.
No, it's built. It's
Yeah.
found in every single step you take along the way, especially the messy ones, the imperfect ones.
So you're not actually falling short when things aren't perfect.
Not at all.
You're simply starting to trust yourself more than you trust that external pressure to be perfect.
That's a powerful shift,
Yeah.
trusting yourself.
Yeah, you're not here on this earth solely to impress other people. You are here to express yourself, your unique self.
Beautifully put. And that's where genuine, lasting confidence truly begins, in that self-trust and self-expression.
Absolutely.
So maybe here's a final thought for everyone listening to consider. If confidence really does blossom from embracing imperfection, from trusting your messy, unpredictable journey,
Yeah.
then how might our collective definition of success need to evolve? Beyond just achieving those perfect outcomes, to truly valuing the courage it takes to simply begin, to adapt when things go sideways, to learn from the process.
That's a big question. Valuing the courage to begin and adapt, not just the perfect finish.
What might that look like in your own life if you started valuing that courage more? Something to think about.